I guess maybe you can just tell me the background of.
Thank you, darling.
Sure.
Okay, thank
You
you.
want-
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay.
So this is
Chris,
your book?
Chris, I don't know where your towel is upstairs.
Oh, I have it. I have
You
one.
know, you have got a little white one.
No, they left one in my room.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you, dear. Yeah. What's that?
So this is your book?
That's my little book. It was a little book that I wrote for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I never had intentions to publish this because I used to be a teacher, you know. I was teaching for Germantown Academy in Philadelphia. Not Philadelphia, but near in Pennsylvania. And it's the oldest academy in the United States, actually. But anyhow, that's what I'm told. But, and after the kids would have the United States, the war history, then they would ask me to go in their classes and speak to the kids as a témoin, as a witness of some of the things. And I would go, with a little force I would go, but I never thought of writing it down. Never entered my mind. But one day I had the head of the department who came in the class, and he was a historian, very well educated man from Harvard, and he said, Freddie, when are you going to write the book? And I looked at him like, you're out of your mind, man. I don't know how to write a book. I never did it in my life, and I don't think I would even know when to start. And he said, look, I buy the first copy. Now please, write down, sit down and write down. Anyhow, make a long story short, when I retired, I was 62 when I retired. Was that? Yeah. I have to think. And I'm not 91. I retired and I thought, I should do that for my kids. Because my children, I never spoke about what happened to me. At 16, what happened to me, I never spoke with anyone.
Why didn't you talk about it?
Because, and that's a very good question. Because one time I did speak at a school, at our school, and I did not feel that the students connected with me. I did not feel that it impressed them. I did not feel they were interested. They were much too busy waiting for the football game to start, and all the sports. And I used to talk at the end of the day. Well, anyhow, I think I got my feelings hurt, and thought they don't care. I have all this profound stuff to tell them, and they don't care, And that's the day when I decided never I'm talk again. I stopped. And I didn't talk about it before either, because it's difficult for a person who has never been in a war, who has never seen a war, who hasn't much connection. Try to identify with them. Try to make a rapport with them. It's very difficult. And for me, this stuff happened to me. And some of the stuff was just, I was just telling Chris, I was reading, I've never read this since I wrote it. And I thought, I'm gonna read a little part that I wanted to remember what I said. And I thought, God, how did I have the courage, the guts to do what I did? It took guts. And I don't think that any other person, a normal person, could appreciate that. You know what I mean? Could identify with that. If I would tell that to any housekeeper, they might say, oh, that was terrible, oh, that. But I don't, anyhow, that's when I stopped. And then I decided, well, I'm starting. I told my husband, I'm going to start writing. And I talked to a writing teacher, to an English major, who was also a nurse, where I live. I live at Folkways now, in the Quaker home. And she said, we have this creative writing class. I'd like for you to come. And I said, Jenny, I am not at all creative. I would love to come just to learn to be creative. And I did. And so I went to the class, and I started there. And what she said to me was, which was really took a hold of my mind, she said, I want you to write one story that happened to you. Just Very simple story. Write it with all the things that you want. And that's what I did. And I started writing the different stories that happened in 4 years, or 2.5 years in my underground, and I started writing these things. And then when I was all through writing it, I had this folder, and oh my God, when am I going to put them all in sequence now? And that's what we worked on then, put them all in sequence. When did it happen? The time and all that. And that's how the book was written. But I wrote it for the family. I thought I'll give it to the family for Christmas, which I did. But then they wouldn't let me not publish it, so it was published immediately. I had this Jewish lady who insisted that this book has to be published, so published it. Okay, end of story.
So, I guess I kind of want to get a background of kind of what your family was like before the war. Like, who were your grandparents? Who were your parents? What did they do?
Okay, try and stop me if I'm too wordy.
No problem.
Okay, just stop me. I don't mind being stopped because I get wordy. I'm like you. I don't know what to say and what not to say. You have to make a choice. Anyhow, I come from a family of 8 children. Born and reared in Munson, which is 5 miles maybe from Aachen, Germany, and on the north, maybe 10 miles from Maastricht. So we're right in the corner.
North, south?
Huh?
North Germany, right? South Germany?
Where is Aachen?
I don't know, actually.
Cologne and Aachen, I would think it's central.
Central.
And because north you'd have to Poland, up there in Danzig and all those places. It's about in the center.
Okay.
I have a map here. Maybe you can see the map. Hold on. Oh, come on. When you look. So anyhow, we were 8 kids. My father was in the First World War, and he was hurt. And my father never could work again. But my mom had a little country store. And that's how we were raised. We were Catholic people, and I thought that in Germany and Belgium, I thought the whole world was Catholic. I never saw another church. It was a very tiny little village, by the way. Tiny village. Yeah, it is a little village. The church in the village. And we lived mostly, really, with Catholicism, with your prayers and everything. Very, very happy life. I can't find it, but I will.
It's okay. I'll find it.
Okay. This is not home. This is school. I know I'll find it. So, keep asking my questions, because I lose sometimes I forget what I'm talking about,
So you guys were very Catholic and...
Raised within the Catholic beliefs and religion, and all that, You went to church and you did this and that. But never went to Catholic school. I always went to public school. There was no Catholic school. I can't find it. I'll find it for you after, okay? You'll have to help me with that.
So, I guess, what happened in kind of as the Nazi run-up? Like, did you see any changes?
Okay. We were all in school. And since you're going to ask me about my activities, I'm going to come centering to me, on me. Excuse me, I'm speaking French. I was like 14, 15, no, I was about 15. And most of the women, most of the girls in that village only went to school till they were 14. And then they stopped school and they went out to work. I had told Papa I wanted to continue studying. And there were a couple, maybe 10 of us in the whole school that were going to continue studying. Well, my father said, okay, for the first year I stayed in school, but I forget how old I was when he took me out and decided that Hitler was going to invade Belgium. My father was a political being. He knew everything about politics. He was really educated. He wasn't a man who went to school, to college. Only the two people in the whole village went to college. But he went to college, and he was an interesting person. He wanted to know what's going on in the world. So he was politically well informed, let's say. And he predicted that Hitler was going to come. Hitler had already invaded Poland and all that. So Papa decided that when they come in, they are going to take, he kept saying to us, he will never have enough troops in his army to cover all the ground he wants to cover. You know, the whole part of Europe. And my father could see, and I don't know, he could see that they were going to start requisitioning, how do you say that? They were going to start calling, what's that?
They were going to recruit from...
Recruit, thank you. They were going to start recruiting all the young people in Belgium to help for the war, which is exactly what happened. So my father sent me to the southern part. Like if you say this is Belgium, I'm living up there, Papa sent me here. Hoping that with the English help, military help, they would stop the Germans. Nobody thought he was going to come through like the Blitzkrieg, you know. I mean, that was just not believed. So anyhow, he sent me down to these people here, to these friends of ours, okay? So I left the school. The Germans walked in May the 10th, 1940. And when they walked in, a little thing that they don't have in the history books, I don't think, unless they put it in there. When the Germans walked in, within a short time, weeks, they annexed part of Munson. They annexed part of Belgium and put the border right here. And they also annexed the part that we had annexed from them in the First World War. No, Alsace-Lorraine. You know, Eupen, Malmedy, Saint-Vite, and those places, and Alsace-Lorraine. So they made a straight line. Germany made a straight line all the way up to Holland. What did that mean? Why am I telling you this? Because that put us in Germany. What does that mean? It meant that all our people were going to be treated like Germans, will have to act like Germans. That means our young people are going to be drafted in the Wehrmacht, okay? And they're going to be fighting against their own people, okay? It means that you really going to have to work for the war, because everybody in Germany, all the young people in Germany, had to have jobs and work for the Reich. So when they did that, when they came to Belgium, that's what they did in Belgium. In that section for us, they started to, recruit people. Anyhow, over the, I stayed here, evacuated to France when they walked in. So I tried to get away from the Germans as they advanced. We evacuated, millions of people advanced, and eventually the Germans caught up with us in France, and then we returned to Belgium, and we tried to get back, and
Now, I have a quick question. Some of the people in Belgium, were they sympathetic to Germans? Did they want the Germans to come?
That's a good question. I'll tell you, Germany is a country that is divided linguistically by, you have the northern part of Germany, of Belgium, used to be Holland, the Hollanders, the Spain used to own, and they took it from the Hollanders or whatever. Anyhow, it's owned by different people. Those people speak Flemish, which is a Teutonic language, and they could understand German a lot better than the French on the south. I was in the south part, or the neutral part on the side there, but what was the question?
Were some of the people sympathetic to Germans?
The northern part were more sympathetic because they could talk to the German soldiers. The French could not. And for the French, the Germans were enemies, period. Period. Because what they did to us in the First World War came and destroyed Belgium, burned the businesses, killed people, over. They would shoot 100 people if one of their officers got killed. They massacred them. Oh, look who's here.
Hey, Nancy.
Hello, sweetie.
Where's Chris?
You're home.
Where's Chris?
Did you turn it off?
Yeah. So yeah, you were saying during the First World War that a lot of people were killed.
Yeah.
That he was not good
So
to.
many people died. Anyhow, the amount of fear was fantastic. People were just afraid. But the northern, you answer your question, the northern part, language-wise, had it easier to talk to them than the southern part, than the French people did. You know, anybody that knows Flemish can understand German, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
But sympathetic, at first, no. They were enemies coming in. They were all, and everybody was fighting against the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
But to be truthful about your question, in the time to come, I think there were more, more German sympathizers in the northern part of Belgium than what you could find in the southern part. Belgium is divided by the Meuse River, coming all the way from the north and going down to the south. Okay, the southern part, the bottom part speaks French. The northern part speaks Flemish. So the country is divided linguistically. Okay, and on the side, as a matter of fact, where I showed you where I came from, they used to speak German. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Okay. All right. So next question.
So did a lot of the people who stay, were they more sympathetic, and the people who left were more afraid of Germans? Or?
Okay. What do you mean by stay?
Well, like you went to France, you tried to get
we
away.
Evacuated.
Right, you evacuated. So do you think some of the people who stayed behind were more sympathetic or just less proactive?
Both. Both. I think. I'm totally. I don't know. I was not in the Flemish part. I think when you understand somebody and you can talk to somebody, it's easier to be less afraid
Right.
than if you understand nothing.
You think you can influence them? You think
Correct.
they might be more sympathetic to you?
Correct.
You could survive it. You might not have to flee.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, that is not to be misunderstood, because it is not true that right away there was so much sympathy in the Flemish part. No. You know, if you read the story of Belgium, a lot of with the time, don't forget the war was 5 years.
Right.
And some of the people, after 3-4 years, they have families, they have to eat. And, you know, there were times that if you didn't march to the Germans' drums, well, you just got hungry.
You had to survive, and you
Okay.
were conquered.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So, being Flemish, it was easier, I think, for them to do that. Just as it was for people who spoke German when they marched into our country. My mom had a little store, a nice store, a grocery store. We have 2 grocery stores in town. Mom had one of them. And at first, the Germans came in, when they walked in, closed the store. Mom had closed the store, and they all started running, and the Germans said, "Don't run, we're already here. There's no sense in you running. Stay home with your kids," they told my mother, "and take care of your children. You know, because we're already here, we're already passed, you know." So, so Mama's store was reopened under the German rules, okay? And the Germans came and bought what they wanted, or took what they wanted. And there was no, I can't say that we certainly didn't sympathize. They were enemies. But my mom spoke German, and they respected Mom. The German soldiers who would come in to buy stuff, I don't think they ever took anything from my mother, because they didn't want to be known as thieves.
Because once someone can speak their language, can talk to others, the conscience all of a sudden worked.
Absolutely, absolutely. That it answers your question, but I want to warn you not to take that as a finale question or answer to that, because there were many, if you read about the people during the war, there were many people that were caught being sympathizers, and they marched them through the streets after the war was over. And when I was in the underground, we had many people to be careful of. We knew where to go. You know, sometimes we didn't, to be safe. If we had a flyer who fell out of the sky, and an American or English flyer, and we had to protect them, and we had to try to get a hold of them and hide them. You had to know where to go to do that. Same thing with the Jews. My uncle, priest, Hubert, like I showed you, he had the parish of Saint Bartholomew in Liège. That was his hubbub, that was his place. And he was quite a wonderful, wonderful priest, spy in the First World War, really. Second World War, he was hiding Jewish people. And I can remember when I ended up to him at his place, which is too difficult to go into details. But when I ended up there, Uncle Hubert was employing one lady, a mother, Jewish mother. He was lodging her daughter. The husband was already in Dachau, had already been picked up in Dachau. And my uncle was taking care of those two people and kept them for quite a while. And that's what he used to do. And excuse me, we had a very good friend who was a Belgian former officer of the Belgian army, Colonel Petit, we used to call him, the colonel, and his name was Petit. And he was kind of the head of that area, of the underground there. And you know what it was all about was hide the Jews. Hide the Jews, feed them, and hide them, and try to get them down to Portugal or to England. Many people got away by being one place after another. They were eventually sent down the chains to where they wanted to go.
So there was a whole Jewish underground kind of evacuation route.
Oh, it was not so much on the Jewish, it was a Belgian underground. It would take care of the Jewish people. Because they couldn't, my God, they couldn't. You know, you can't really call it that. They did the organ. I think maybe they did, I don't know, but from my point of view, we were the ones that furnished them false identity cards, food, clothes, hiding places, and we took them from one place to the next. And it would be good. If I got, I did many courier jobs. If I got an order to say, here, I want that person to go, we're going to take this person over there to this other place, because that's not secure anymore. The Germans know about it. They're going to come and get them, you know. And we had to find places where to put them and how to give them the food, where to get the food for them, where they could survive. And that was just one of the things. Another time, I don't know if this is the time to go into that. Is it the time? Is it okay?
Any time, it doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. What I can think of, I remember the things that stuck in my mind that scared me the most. Okay? So I'm going to give you them. I was called, I was living at my uncle's rectory, Catholic rectory. Remember, he was a priest.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Uncle Hubert. And Uncle Hubert, he had connections with all these underground people, these reactionary people, these resistance guys. And he knew all the top people. And one day, I was staying at his place. I had these several places where I could go and lodge when I was hiding. I was hiding from the Germans, don't forget. Well, I didn't tell you that. I had a false identity card. I had false papers that I carried. In other words, if it would have been a driver's license here, it would not be my name, it would not be my real one. It would be false. So that's what I had. My paper was false. I was born somewhere else than what I was. I was about the same age, My name was almost the same, but not.
Why did you have to do that?
What did I have to
Let
do?
me check the fake identity. Why did you have
Let me tell you how I got my false identity card.
and why?
And why? Let's back up then. When I left my father and they put me in the southern part of Belgium, the Germans started proceeding to push into Belgium. My hometown was already taken by the Germans. And they came advancing and advancing. I was in the center part. The people in the center part started to get frightened, and everybody got on the road and started evacuating south to go to France. Okay, thousands of people on the highway. I was one of them. The lady that I went to live with and I had a bicycle, and we started evacuating to France.
Did you have any things to take, or did you?
We had 2 suitcases. It was hilarious. I mean, you see that bicycle? That was me. I laughed because it turned out to be like that. That was her suitcase and my suitcase. Because she couldn't take hers. She was too old and it was too heavy. Bicycle was not stable. And I was head on fire on a bicycle. I mean, oh my. Anyhow, so I had her bicycle. So we started to evacuate to France. When we got to Beauvais, which is in France.
How far is that?
About 50 miles from Paris.
How far is that for you to have gone on a bicycle?
It was 3 days.
3 days on a bicycle.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, 3 days on a bike. But we were having the Luftwaffe, the German Luftwaffe, on top of us all the time, bombarding us all the time.
They were bombarding you?
Oh my God, we were being bombarded all the time. While we were driving down to France, they are shooting at us like crazy.
So they see a civilian column of people evacuating, and
yes,
they're
and I tell you what, yes, because we were going, picture this, we are going south.
Mm-hmm.
The French army is coming north to fight the Germans. There's only so many roads you can use.
Mm-hmm.
They're not big countries like here.
Mm-hmm.
So we would be going down, and they were coming up.
Mm.
There were a lot of military on those roads. But I must say, I also witnessed on the same roads, on my bicycle, the German Luftwaffe coming to machine gunners. I can still hear them, kill as many people as possible, and then take off. Okay. So we got as far as Beauvais, which was like, I thought it was 50 miles from Paris, when the Germans caught up. And that's a whole different, it's a too long story to tell. But after they caught up with us, we turned around and tried to come back to Belgium, where we came from. Okay? And we got back. And we got back to the home where we were living. Was totally devastated. That's another story. Anyhow, after I got home to Andenne, I decided I better go and see my father. My father is at the border. My family, are they alive? Are they dead? What happened? I had no idea. So I made I got out of Andenne. It was not that simple. There's a whole chapter on this stuff. But I got out of Andenne with the lady, and I went home. It was like 67 miles, I think, or something like that, or 37 miles, I forget, on foot. And there was no transportation, so I had to walk it. So I got home finally and found my family.
And you were a 16-year-old girl?
Found my family alive, not in their home. Our beautiful big home had been damaged by the bombing, had been taken over by the Germans. So they had moved into this little stone house, which is still there today, and that's where we were living. Okay? So I found them, and that's another story. It's a fun story. Anyhow, I'm trying to abbreviate this for you. I found them alive And I thought I'm going to stay with them now. I'm home now, right? Oh my God, I'm home again. And they're all alive. I couldn't believe it. So we're all happy. And we said, well, we'll just go to work and make some food. Get some food money, you know. Anyhow, Papa says to me, no, you cannot stay here. If you stay here, the same thing is going to happen. They're going to come for you. Hitler is going to have to requisitionate these people, younger people. He's going to need power. He's going to have people from other countries. Sure enough, with the time, that's what Hitler started doing. And I got a paper, I got called with the paper, we call it mon papier de réquisition. I don't know what you call it in English.
Acquisition papers.
Okay. And it said, Fernand Kufgens, you will be reporting at the railroad station in Munson to leave for Danzig. Danzig is up at the Polish border, way up. To work for the war effort in ammunition factory. That was my destination.
So a lot of all those factories that were bombed by the Allies, that was a lot of European people who
You
were
got it.
civilians who
You got
were,
it.
wow.
You got it.
They were not German. Oh my God.
So what they did, you see, and we're talking about, don't forget, we're talking about time here.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't write that down, you know, like one thing after another it really happened. With time, Hitler replaced his working force in those ammunition factories and many other factories. He replaced the working force in those factories with the young people from our countries. First of all, because he needed his people to put them in the Wehrmacht, in the military. He needed them at the front. And we were there. And if we got bombed, if the factory got bombed, they bombed us. Okay? So I get this paper. And on the bottom of the paper, it says, should you not report on the train to be deported, your father will be picked up and put in prison. Or your father and your brother will go to the Dachau. That was the threat. So I get the paper. They sent the paper to my home. My father calls me, where I am, and said, you better come home. So I came home, and already there was the new border that they had made. So I was already afraid to go through. I went clandestinely through the border. That was another thing. Anyhow. I took my paper, I went home, and I said to Daddy, I will report. I'm not going to risk you being in jail, or anybody else in the family, because they were going to take the father or the breadwinner, they called it. So take him away from the people being able to eat. So, I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm getting on that train. Okay? There was this train coming from, I like my little book here, don't you think? There was this train coming from, from here, coming from France, coming from Europe, from Belgium, and Europe and the Flemish part. This long train came over to Munson, and in Munson had this huge station, and it was called in Gare de Réquisition. All the merchandise used to come there that they stole, the Germans stole all over the place. But also, a lot of Jewish people came through there on these trains, deported.
And you saw that?
Huh? Yeah. I didn't know they were Jewish at the time. But I know there were all these people there. Long trains. We were in the front. In the front they were loading all the young people from Belgium. And I was told that in the back they were all Jewish people. And they were all going to go over the viaduct. Did I show you the viaduct?
No.
Okay, I have the viaduct in the book. They were going to take us over the viaduct, which goes from Munson to, and I don't remember if it's Aachen, but close to there. Meaning that once you are on the viaduct and you're over there, you're in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter anyhow. We were in Germany anyhow. We were German, okay? So anyhow, that was their plan. So we were being deported all the way up to the factories. I decided I wouldn't do that. I got on the train, I signed off, I got on the train, and when I got on the train, I was very careful. I don't know where I got the wisdom to do this, but I thought, okay, here is this big long train. I'm going to make sure I'm in the middle. And luckily they said, yeah, you can go in there, get in there. And I sat at the end of the train where the door was, the opening door was. And there was another couple. There was a big tall guy, I can remember, and two other people who sat close, and I knew they were up to something. You could always tell. You could tell. Anyhow, before the train hit, when the train left, before the train got straight over to the viaduct, is this little bend. And at that bend, I jumped out of the train, rolled down the bank with other 4 people. Okay? And then, of course, now you really are in hiding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you have no papers, you have no food, you have no place to go, and you are clandestinely traveling through Germany, right? So, one of the guys broke a leg. We took him to the farmhouse that we knew we could go to. We know that they were hiding people.
How did you know that?
By word of mouth of secret people.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody knew that. But I knew that they were taking care of people that were hiding that farm. Anyhow, took him there, and then I disappeared by myself, and I went home. Didn't go home. I went straight over to Liège, right here in the middle of Belgium, to my uncle priest, to that parish. And when I got there, I could stay overnight, but I was very careful because the Gestapo would come and inspect that house every once in a while to see if he was hiding anybody. They always had my uncle in their eye because he was doing things that they knew was clandestine against the Germans. And they were always looking to try to arrest him. And they arrested him twice. But he got out twice also. Okay?
He was a good spy.
Huh?
He was a good spy.
So anyhow, so I went back to my uncle, and then I said to my uncle, now listen, I need false papers. He knew that. I have no identity. Oh, he said, then he started. Oh God, I'll never forget that scene. You can't do that. I said, I want to join the underground. He says, honey, you're much too young. They won't let you do anything. You cannot do that. You just, it's too dangerous. I cannot do that. Your father will be very upset. I can't do that. And I just left him go ahead and talk. And when he was all finished, he realized that he had gotten nowhere. I was going to do it anyhow. So I said, I want my false papers. And I knew that he could furnish my false identity card and my false food card. So I didn't say another word. I went to bed, and the next morning, he came up and he said, here, here's your card.
Wow.
Here's your identity and your food, your stamps. Now, the food stamps, I forget where he got them, but anyhow, they were false, printed falsely. But I wasn't sure I was going to get them every month. You only got them if there was some there. Okay? Anyhow, that's how I started to hide. And so you want to know why we had to have an identity card? Okay. With that identity, that false identity, I could circulate. Because if I went out of my door, I went down to the baker to get a loaf of bread, I might see a German police who would say, give me your identity. I was young. What was I doing in Belgium when I was supposed to be working for the German war? That was one thing. Mm-hmm. And if I looked Jewish, well, that was a dead sentence, right? Mm-hmm. So they would arrest us many, many times. no matter where I went, many times I got asked, give me your identity. And I would give them my false identity. And I would speak German. I spoke German.
You learned it in school?
Mm-hmm. And I spoke good German. I don't want to say, I would not say today that I'm speaking really good German, but I can keep a whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so I would make fun. I would cajole them. I would do anything so they wouldn't pick me up. And I say, oh, I'm from Mountain, and what are you doing here? How? Oh, I said, my uncle lives right here. Not my uncle, priest. Mm-hmm. Somebody else I would show him to. And anyhow, I got away with it. But you had to show an identity. And if they picked you up, you went to jail right away. You were deported. And they never did pick me up. Okay? So, for 2.5 years, I used that identity card. And in my lodging, I had my uncle where I could go once in a while, carefully, if he was, I say where I could go. It's not true. Where I went and risked to sleep a night or two. Not that I could go. We were never secure or sure that that I wasn't going to be picked up. Because my uncle, I'm going to show you the house, the rectory was always subject to inspection for the Germans. Because they knew that my uncle housed Jewish people.
So how did he hide them?
He just hired them. I went in there to my uncle. The first time I went, when I ran away,
mm-hmm.
I get in there, and the lady opens the door. It's a beautiful little lady, dark hair, and she says, oh yeah, come on in. And she kind of knew that my uncle had said maybe I would come. Anyhow, she left me in, and I'll never forget, she was so sweet. And then she had a daughter, who was I think she was 12 years old. Beautiful girl. And I got introduced. And my uncle called me in his office and he said, listen, she's Jewish. Her husband was just taken to Dachau.
Did you know what was going on in Dachau?
Oh, yeah. Her husband was just taken to Dachau.
So,
those two, her and her daughter got away. And so, they're here. He didn't have to tell me anymore. I know they were there hiding. That's why he hid people and feed them. And they could stay. He had guts too. I don't know how he kept them so long, because they were there for months. And all of a sudden, they were gone. Dangerous, up there, up.
They were sent to the next place?
They would take them to the next place, or take them somewhere else. Or the Germans had taken them. You always had to be careful. I told you, the Germans came to the front door. The Germans came at 2 o'clock in the morning, knock on your door. When I stayed at my uncle's house, in the city of Liège, there are pavements, and they're cobblestone pavements. And I could tell, at the time, if it was a soldier or a regular person that would walk in front of our door at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because the boots of the Germans had a piece of iron on them, mm-hmm. and that clicked on the stones. That really made a certain noise. And it would go click, 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 click. And if there were two soldiers, I could hear it. And when they patrolled, they came patrolling the town. Mm-hmm. And the city of Liège, where he was, they came patrolling that. And then when we heard them, I had the window open a little bit, and I could hear them. And if you heard them stop, okay, stop, they're coming in. Then we'd ring the bell. And by that time we're out of bed, and we're climbing up to the attic, mm-hmm. only a very short place, and we climb outside of the attic onto the roof, and lay on our belly on the roof until the Germans were gone. Now, I did that a couple of times. I was scared. Oh God. Anyhow, that's the kind of thing we did. Oh, and I was going to tell you about, just to give you an idea of what I got involved into. Officially, the underground thought I was too young to do anything that dangerous. However, they asked me to do things that I was just absolutely delighted to do, but scary. This one, okay, now we're my uncle, okay? On this one day, I stopped at my uncle's, and I had permission to stop at my uncle, and I think I slept overnight, I'm not sure, but in the morning, this big, tall hobo came in, and he looked like a hobo, tall man. He had this grummiest looking coat on, the dirtiest looking coat you ever want to see, all the way down to here. Long hair, you know, the typical hobo. When I say hobo, I mean the guys that used to sleep underneath a bridge in the air. Okay. He comes in, he walks right into my uncle's private office. He had a little office where people would come to talk to him, you know, right in there. And he said, Fernand, my name is Fernand. Fernand, come in me. And he came in with this little boy. Had a little boy with him. Little boy. He says to the little boy, go to Josephine, that was the lady, and not Josephine, I forget what her name is, go and get a cookie. And we went in the dining room. And I'll never forget it. Here's the scenery. Okay, he takes something out of his pocket. And it looked like, you know, the red hankies the farmers used to wear, and the firemen, or the fire people used to, the red thing, squares, red and white, or polka dotted, red and white, or they put it around their neck and tied it. One of those, that was a very famous kind of scarf that the people used to wear, the working people used to wear. He picks it up from his neck, puts it down, and on top of that, he brings out some dirty little clothes from a little kid, put them there, and then he picks out a little package. There's only about the size of a card, or a deck of cards, maybe 2 decks of cards, I don't know, but wrapped up in old newspaper, very, very old. He puts it in the middle, a little more clothes on top, takes the corners, ties them together, and he had walked in with this big stick, a walking stick. Gives it to me and he says, here, you take that to Banu. Banu? Holy mackerel. I had to take some kind of transportation and then walk a couple hours. It was far from where I was. And you take this little boy with you. And you deliver him in Banu. Now Banu was a place where the Virgin Mary, we're talking Catholic now, the Virgin Mary was supposed to have appeared to a little girl. And people today go there like Lourdes, France. They go there to pray and to ask for miracles. And it has become a center, a religious center. Okay, so the sisters of St. Francis had built a convent there. And they were taking care of children at the time. So it was St. Francis people. So he says, you go to the St. Franciscan sisters and you deliver this package. Okay. I don't know. I think I said something about what is it. Give me a very brief answer.
You want some more water?
It's okay. Yeah, I should drink. Then I talk, I get the cough. So he says, okay, take that to Banu. So I said off. Oh, he says, and do look like a scout, okay? Like I'm scouting with a kid, I'm taking a kid somewhere. Look like a scout. And the place where I was going to have to walk was all beautiful pine tree woods. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. But it was a long walk, I had to walk. I think I was on the road, walking for 2 hours. Anyhow, I got up to the top of the hill. And the little boy was getting tired and whiny, and I couldn't carry him. I thought he was too heavy, so I said, okay, we're going to get there. So we get to the top of the hill, And then we had to make a turn, and the convent was right here. And this little kid looks and he says, "Oh, my tante, my aunt." He meant my aunt lives there. He had a religious nun who lived in a convent. Okay, my tante. Oh, I said, that's wonderful. And I'm looking that way for the aunt, for the place. I knew where it was. I knew by now. And I'm looking that way, and when I come back in my head, in front of me stands two huge Gestapo. Halt! Arbeitskarte. The first thing they would ask for was your working card. In other words, what do you do for the war? How are you helping the war effort? So everybody needed no driver's license, like in America. Everybody had to carry a working card. If you were 14 or above, you had to have a working card. Okay? So, now don't forget, I have this bundle hanging on my stick, on my shoulders, looking like a scout, the little kid next to me, and I know what's in there.
What is in there?
I'll tell you in a minute. I know that this is clandestine work, okay? It's got this great big Gestapos. Oh, God. And you know what? And I'm thinking, I go slowly to get my identity card, which was in this pocket. I picked up my Arbeitskarte, like he said, which I still have. I gave it to him. And he said, well, where do you work? In German. He didn't know I spoke German. And I said to him, es steht auf die Karte, können Sie nicht Deutsch lesen? Don't you? I said, it's unwritten on the card. Can't you read German? You know, when I think today of the audacity to answer that, he would have shot me. That's how. I don't know what I had the courage to say that to him. But I said it in such a good German. I said to him, don't you know how to read German? It's on the card. I walk in Banu right there. Oh, and then he got really embarrassed because he asked me the question. And then he started thinking, well, she speaks German. What the hell is she doing here? You know, anyhow. So he said to me, and what's with that bundle you have up there? And that kid? What about that kid?
So he was illiterate.
Huh?
So it sounds like he was illiterate.
No.
No.
I said to him, the boy is going to the sanatorium. That hospital was called the sanatorium. It was a pre-tuberculose sanatorium. Okay? For children. And I said, the boy has tuberculosis, he's going to the thing. Well, he made one step backwards. They were so scared of catching tuberculosis.
Oh yeah, of course.
He stepped back and he went, rouse, rouse. Oh, and he said, I said, and the bag is, they're his clothes. And I started picking it off my shoulder and said, would you like to see them? Rouse, rouse.
It's like telling them that he had Ebola.
Yeah. So anyhow, so I left. But you know, I'm laughing today. I was not laughing. My whole body was shaking. My whole body. I was so scared. And I held the hand to the little boy, and I'm starting to walk away from them, thinking they're on my back, they could shoot me very easily, and they many times did. And I thought, if they don't shoot me, I'll be okay. And
Why would they shoot if they told you to go?
It had nothing to do. We were in the countryside. Nobody would have ever questioned it. If they thought for 1 minute that I was doing something clandestine, which in that area was being done all the time, okay, they were looking for something, okay. So we start walking, and I can remember starting to pray. I started praying the Hail Mary. You know, we have these prayers from the Mother of God, the Mother of Jesus. And I started playing the Hail Mary, and the little boy joined in with me. And the two of us were praying. So we walked over to the sanatorium, and as I got to the sanatorium, the door opened. No one was standing there. this big Franciscan nun with her habit, in her habit. Said, okay.
Yeah, I think it's.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, she speaks German. So she picks the package up, the package disappears, the little boy disappears, and she says to me, go with me, go to the end of the hallway there, and go in that little room and sit down. I'm going to bring you something to drink. Because you know how scared, you know how shaking I was. And I did. And she came down 2 minutes later with a beautiful big cup of coffee with the best cognac in it that I had ever drank in my life. Smell of cognac, oh my God. I drank the whole thing. But then you know what the package was? 15, I think it was, I shouldn't say the number. I always thought it was 15. False identity card.
Wow.
For the English flyers coming down that night.
Wow.
They were going to land, because that area had castles, several castles, beautiful lawns. You could land gliders there without being seen. And that's what they were. They came down and they bought that many flyers, English spies.
Ah.
And I had the cards for them, the false identity card.
Wow.
That never forgot that. I never forgot that. Yeah, that was the kind of thing that I did, you know.
What was it like joining the, I guess, the resistance when you kind of like meeting the people, finding the people for the first time after your uncle gave you the cards? Like, how did you find them? How do they treat you?
Well, we had, like I told you, we had one person in Liège that I know by name. He's the only one. Because you didn't know anybody by name. Nobody knew me by name. And I was not to talk to anybody. I mean, there were all kind of rules. No talking, no socializing, no visiting, no doing anything unless you're told. Okay?
That was the rules of the resistance?
Yeah. You just didn't do that. And you were told. And you were very careful. If I wanted to talk to my uncle, it got to the point where I didn't go at all anymore. It was too dangerous. And before that, I used to go into the confessional. You know, in the Catholic churches we have confessionals.
Right.
They're the kind of booths that you go in to say your sins. And I used to go to my uncle, and when he was listening to confessions, I used to go into the confessional to talk to him and to say hello and to tell me how things were, or get me news of something. That's the only way I could see him. Yeah. And to see the people, actually, I didn't have that much direct contact. I had some. You know, I didn't know people that were working, that were being, but I saw more from a distance. You know, like when the Jews were taken away by car or by trucks, I saw them being gathered by the police, you know, thrown out of the houses, you know, and put on trucks and just take them out. I also saw them coming back. I saw one truck, one military truck. And I was in the city of Liège, and I was, they were turning, there was like this, see the beautiful square here, and the truck was going around like that. And all the Jewish people who were survived were standing up for the people to see them, for the people in Liège to see what happened to them. Oh my God, they looked horrible. They looked half dead. But they were standing and they were saved after the war, you know, when the Americans had liberated them. You know, things like that I saw. And I saw...
How were they treated after the war?
In Dachau? Oh, after the war? Oh, beautifully. I mean, in Belgium, I mean, we all tried to establish them, you know, give them doctors and give them medical supplies and give them, you know. I don't really know. I never was that close to the I never worked for that effort. That was just the last effort. That was the last day of the war, you know. But yeah, no, I many times, like I said, I did courier work and took things places and took messages, because you couldn't call on the phone. You had to go personally and do that and take things, or tell that commander over there that's over there is these people over there are waiting to be moved.
So you were the email.
Yeah, the email. Yeah.
Human email.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a crazy life.
Why did you decide to come to the States? How did that come about?
I fell in love with an American. What do you think? Well, I met my husband over there as an American soldier.
Mm-hmm.
He was a 29th Infantryman. And I met him in Liège, in the city where I mostly worked. And I hadn't had a date for 5 years. I mean it, not a date. All during the war. Because I couldn't go out, because if you went, tried to dance someplace, all they were was German soldiers on the dance floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was not going to dance with German soldiers, okay? If you went to the movie, there was a lot of Germans there. And it got to the point where I was in the underground. I wouldn't let anybody see me there.
Mm-hmm.
I was way too scared. I mean, you had false papers. You don't forget that.
Mm-hmm.
You are an individual who has false papers constantly, every day of your life. So you better be careful. What you say, where you go, what you do. If you needed to go to get something to eat, or to a bakery or somewhere, and you know that the Germans were around in the area, you just did without the food. Never mind the food. You want to save your neck. So, I forget what the question was.
Yeah, so you met the American soldier, your husband?
Oh. So then I met Bill, and I saw him. We were there for 4 months together. Mm-hmm. And then he went to Germany. He was deported then to Germany, and he went to the Battle of the Bulge. But he didn't go. He went up front, up to Frankfurt, and got hurt. He got hurt with a mine, and then he came back. And came back to the United States. And my dad, by this time, my father was against me knowing an American soldier.
Mm.
His daughters were not going to be going marry no soldiers, okay? And Papa we had 8 children, as I told you, 5 girls, 3 boys, and Mom died during the war. Mm-hmm. Right after the war, Mom died. So he was stuck with 8 kids. And he always said, I don't know how to handle these women. I don't know what to do with all these women. Well, anyhow, Daddy and I had a wonderful experience, wonderful relationship. But I asked him to permit me to marry Bill. Because when Bill wrote asked me to marry, we were secretly engaged before he left, okay? Mm-hmm. But our father said, no. And he had all the good reasons why I should not do that. It was too far. Don't forget, 1949.
Right.
Okay? We're not, today that'd be just...
Can't just travel back and forth.
Right. Anyhow, and they had no home to live in. And I was working just to feed them. I did all kinds of stuff. I worked on a farm. I picked potatoes out in the field. I used to go work on farms and clean the sties from the pigs and all kinds of stuff, just to make a buck. Mm-hmm. Just so we could possibly live, and we had to feed the children, And then, after 2 years, I worked. And 2 years, it was 2.5 years. I had a talk with my dad, and I decided that I needed, maybe my husband was not coming back. He had promised he would come. And I thought maybe he's not coming. I got 3 letters from him, and then stopped. Mm-hmm. And so I thought maybe he changed his mind. So I was not about to put pressure on him, because it was too big of an item, too big of a decision to make. So I started to apply to schools, because I had left schools when I was 15. So I started to apply to school, and I wanted to go to nursing school in Brussels. And of all schools, I chose Brussels University School of Nursing, which was the most difficult one. But anyhow, that was me. I always wanted to head for the top. So I applied, and they wrote back.